Hello, today we are speaking with Magdalena Czarnecka, the project development manager from Feniks. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. If you can tell us, maybe at the beginning, where exactly in Poland you're from?
I'm from Pabianice, which is near Łódź. Yeah, that's center of Poland, pretty much.
All right. So how long you spent there? I think you moved to Łódź for university, yes?
Well, I actually commuted for my studies, but my parents are from Łódź and my granny still lives there, so we were just kind of joined two cities, let's say.
All right. So we're living like in both cities at the same time, or we moved permanently to Łódź later for university?
No, I was commuting most of the time, or staying with my granny, so no, it was like combining two.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. So you like never moved actually from your hometown, right?
Well, it's a longer story, but I grew up in Łask, which is even smaller city, and it's 16 kilometers off. So it's like my parents moved there when they graduated university. My mom got a job, and my parents both got a job in a hospital, so they are doctors. And then I commuted to high school in Pabianice, then they moved to Pabianice, and
Okay.
but we were just closer to Łódź, pretty much. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So when did you move to Scotland, and why have you moved?
So that's a little bit longer story. I moved in. I came to Scotland for the first time in May 2006. That was because my ex-boyfriend moved over, but it wasn't really because of him. It was quite. I was just led by the same motives as he was, just for adventure and to try something, to see other cultures and see how you can live in other countries for a bit to stay a bit longer. I think it was 2004 when we entered EU was just that opportunities open that my parents never had. So I wanted to exercise it, let's say. Yeah.
So you stayed there permanently, or you were just here for a moment? You said the first time when you came.
I was when in 2006 I was still at the university, so we were trying to have a long distance relationship, and I think that lasted about 2 years. In the meantime, I also came here for a year to study. I had a gap year in Poland. So pretty much like my first 5 years with Scotland were like that. But when I graduated, I decided to decide on one place and try my luck in Scotland. And I thought that I had more opportunities here actually than in Poland, and that was December 2011. So soon will be another anniversary. Yeah. Since then, I'm permanently here.
Okay. So basically, when you moved here permanently, that's like your view for Edinburgh or for all Scotland just changed when you like settled down here, or have you felt before when you were like coming here for some time that basically this is the place I want to stay?
Yes, absolutely. I think that was my feeling, that after knowing Poland all my life and after knowing Edinburgh, I decided to stay here or move to here, but also a little bit like staying actually after so many years. And that was, as I said, it was such a great city that gave so many opportunities, and although it's quite compact in size, it's so much happening and so many cultural events and charities that are very important to me that you couldn't find any other place like that even in the UK, I think. So that's why I decided on Edinburgh.
Yes, and how was your beginning in Edinburgh in Scotland? Was it quite difficult? Did you remember some kind of difficulties in basically settling down here? Kind of cultural differences that makes you here?
So this question actually brings a little bit problems to me, because I realized that the first 5 years before I spent here, or on and off, I was already kind of learning the culture. So when I moved over here, I already knew what I was expecting, and I felt more actually, because it was my student years, I felt more that I belonged a little bit more here than in Poland. I think living in such a multicultural and cultural place, I opened my horizons, and I thought that I didn't fit to Poland anymore. And I even after living here more years, that's exactly what I feel now. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what particularly you like in a Scottish culture that makes you feel like, oh, that's prefer it more than in Poland?
I think after working quite a long time now in the third sector in particular, I learned that at least by law and by institutions, and I heard it from many workers, from many even politicians, it's that Scotland celebrates diversity. And this is what you would never hear in Poland, and it actually fits my life philosophy as well. So I feel like that. So this is where I belong more right now. Yeah.
But are there any parts, let's say, of your Polish tradition, right, Polish identity that you'd like to keep, and you think like, oh, that's a part of Polishness I would like to keep because there's no such thing as Scotland? Is it anything, something like that do you think the Polish culture might just fit you better?
Well, I definitely didn't completely adopt Scottish culture, because you can even hear it in my accent. It's not. I don't think it's exactly possible, and I wouldn't like that either. I work with Polish community, and really focus on helping Polish people, also adopting here, but finding and using the opportunities that Scotland gives and being able to use it. So I still keep a lot of Polishness in me. Even I was dancing in a Polish folk dancing group, which I thought was a great community project, and I'm still involved in many other groups that celebrate Polish culture, but also promote rights of Polish people here, which I think is still a very strong part of me and identity. So I wouldn't say I completely adopted Scottishness, which I would have to really think what it is as well.
Yeah. Or maybe if you can tell us like what similarities you can find between Scottish and Polish culture. If you look at the Scots here and the Poles, do you think something, oh, that's kind of similar between two nations?
I'm not sure if we are able to actually name one thing or specifically deep down saying this is why we are similar, but I think there are similarities, and that's why we kind of get along quite well. I'm not sure if we can go back to the history actually and see. So Poland was partitioned and worked for really towards independence. So we can find similarities in current Scottish independence movement, and I think that's possibly what makes us similar in a way. But also this. What I like about Scotland is that there's very strong pride about the nation, but also being able to adopt other cultures in that. So it's not, it's kind of modern patriotism, as I would call it, and which allows you to be also belong to other culture and be still being proud of it.
You're involved here in Scotland in many projects from the third sector, right? Mainly in
what, sorry?
In third sector, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mainly in Feniks, right? Who's taking care of mental health among the Polish people. So how did you start being involved here in all the arguments? How did you find them and start working?
I studied psychology and international relations. So when I came over for the first time, I was already I had to think about the topic for my dissertations. And I was really interested in the history of Polish people coming to Scotland in the Second World War and how Polish community developed, which we can already see here. You can go around Edinburgh and see plaques and different even monuments that celebrate Polish people, that they were here before. So this history really interested me. And later, because of the psychology and I needed another topic, I started being interested in psychology of immigration and stress, coping methods. And so once I learned that there was a meeting, I think it was November 2007, yeah, there was a meeting with the Polish Consul General and people who were involved somehow in the community, working with Polish people and who were trying to integrate or promote Polish culture here. And I joined that meeting, so this is how I met a lot of people who now are quite active in the community, and I'm glad that it happened because we were still young, so we became very good friends since then as well. But at the time I also learned that Feniks was established, so that was 2007. I think Feniks existed since August, and that meeting was in November. So I remember they existed, and when I had to do my internships or placements at the uni, I was also trying to use the time I was here. So I had my placements, then I did Erasmus internship here. So over the years, yeah, I was a volunteer, then on the board, and now I'm the manager. So it was a long story of volunteer work, I would say.
So did you enjoy it, basically working in that topic?
Yeah, and I think honestly that's my mission, to help people, and it really helps to use my skills in a good cause, let's say.
And well, I suppose it's quite difficult, right? Just working with other people here who's got mental health problems. It's got basically, so it must be quite demanding work, isn't it?
It is, and but I think we have to be able to to look on the bright side of it. We are helping people most of the time, and trying to take them out of isolation and also we do a lot of referring, so and signposting. So even if we see that people may have problems with other financial issues or homeless or housing or anything, we know where to signpost them and find other help for them, not only mental health, because we have that holistic approach, but we believe it's or you can take it from the Maslow's pyramid of needs, that you can work on mental health, but you have other issues and other businesses, let's say, in place and fixed. Yeah.
But normally I think the kind of ordinary people just don't realise how probably the big problem of the mental health of the migrants here is. Like, do you, as basically person who's aware of all the problems of the Polish migrants, they have got some kind of different view for the Polish migration here? Like, when you're looking at the Polish migrants here, can you see like this? Oh, it doesn't kind of hit you sometimes kind of negative thoughts about all the migrants, that they've got too many problems here?
Myself, they hit me.
Yeah.
Right. I think it's not any different than with any any other person and occupation who works with in kind of support services. Of course we have doubts, but as I'm saying, we have to just keep to that, positive aspect of it, that you're helping actually. And of course that, there are stories of people who sometimes you're not able to help, but we are hoping that even signposting them and keeping them in the loop is a possibility to keep them safe. Sometimes it's about safety, sometimes about safety or the basic support that they may not access because they don't know, or they don't have anyone to advocate for it. So it's not exactly what we do, but we have link worker or links to other organizations, so that helps to support them. Yeah.
So do you see any changes in the mental health, like in general, in Polish people from where you began working with the Feniks, and now does Polish people got more problems, or does it becoming any better maybe?
The problems are slightly different. At the beginning, as I said, I wasn't with the organization at the very beginning, but I learned that when the emigration was still quite young, but not age-wise, it's just more that there were people who newly arrived because they started in 2004, 2006 was the peak. So there were problems, we call it adaptation problems. So they were not sure why they're here, where can they find help, how can they fit in, lots of anxieties. These days, I think we see more problems related to people who got stuck, let's call it like that, and then they stuck maybe at work, maybe in the mental health, or usually the kind of social situation that maybe unfulfilled expectations. Quite a lot of our clients are educated, but they work in low-skilled jobs. It's cleaning, it's companies that the other factories, or cake biscuits factories. So they basically don't exactly see how to get out of it, and they suffer with mental health, and sometimes they develop here, sometimes they had them already, but never really maybe have time to actually look into them.
So does the fact that you researching all the mental health problems of the Polish people, or migrants in Scotland at all, does it in any way help you basically dealing with, I suppose, the problems of the migrants in a different country, or you didn't have any problems like that adaptating? So how do you think about basically your story in Scotland?
My personal story?
Yes, your personal story.
I think everyone has to find what works for them, and I definitely spend a lot of time exploring that, and I don't think it was exactly related to me living abroad. It was more what helps me as a person, and also, of course, being away from the family and friends you grew up with or from university made it more difficult for me, but I realized at some point that I can't be isolated and I really need friends around me, and quite a lot of effort I put in making friends, which is quite, we don't realize how difficult it might be or how much effort it requires, because it's a thing as an adult, you're not used to push yourself so much all the time, and here you just have to push yourself off the sofa sometimes and saying, okay, I have to go to another event, or I have to go out there and meet friends and then, or meet people and maybe make friends and maybe invest in that friendship and invest, because this is how I find what helps me. There are people who can be by themselves and and they're happy like that. I can't, so I need my friends around me. I need definitely working in this sector, and it helped me in this organization as well, networking and making networks and realizing where partners are. It works exactly the same. We are a very small charity, and without support we are not able to cope. So this, I think, I can probably relate it to my life as well. Yeah.
So when you were meeting new friends, new people, were they mostly Polish people or internationals as well? Was it easier to find Polish friends than, let's say, the Scottish friends?
I can't. At the moment, definitely, I have more Polish friends than Scottish. However, my best friend is Scottish, so I can't really say what is more difficult or how it should be, because people have all the ideas how whether you should integrate or keep the Polish, you shouldn't keep the Polish, keep the Scottish. This is, I find, how it happened in my life, and I met incredible people, and I don't feel like I should give up on them only because they are Polish or any other nationality. So this is, I think this is how it happened in my life, basically.
So you run also the Believe Conversation Cafes, right? So there's a meeting. I think it's not only the Polish people, right? You've got all multicultural.
Yes, that's Believe Conversation Cafe is one of the Feniks projects. Yes, and this is the most multicultural project I think we have at the moment. Yeah, it's definitely not dedicated only to Polish. It's actually very popular in other nations and other nationalities. We have quite a lot Spanish and Italian people coming, but also it's such a variety, to be honest. We have about 30 nationalities every year, so probably the whole spectrum of the nationalities you see in Edinburgh. Yes, also people from Syria and refugees. So. And it's a great project. Every time I feel when I'm there, I'm feeling like I'm maybe in a hostel kitchen. You're preparing your dinner, and there are all people around, and you start having a chat about anything in the world, and you learn different perspectives on things. So I recommend. And it's the most multicultural experience you can get, not going abroad, let's say. Yeah.
And so how do you find other nationalities? Because I think the Polish minority is one of the best organised here. We've got plenty. We've got basically Feniks, who's trying to help them with mental health. Mm-hmm. We've got all the other cultural organisations or social support organisations. Does the other nationalities got the same, we think, or we've got quite privileged being Polish migrants here? What do you think?
I'm not sure I would say privilege. I would definitely say the biggest minority, and given how minorities and ethnic minorities or new migrations and communities develop, when you look on the theory of adaptation, we can definitely say that we are quite well developed community-wise, because we have institutions like that, as you said, as Feniks, as other even institutions going back going back to Second World War. So there's almost a heritage that we can learn from and continue, and so it helps building identity as well, I suppose. I'm not sure. It's difficult to compare us to other communities. Definitely, Asian communities are a lot more settled here, so they have their own also organizations. We have, I think, Spanish migration was, and Spanish and Italian migration was the newest one. So they start integrating, or they start building their own institution. I'm aware of new Spanish organization, and of course there used to be Spanish festival. So I think they're learning, starting from this. Yeah, it's a quite uncomfortable question, I have to say, because it's a little bit, it's on the edge of. I'm not sure where you want to take this.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. Thank you very much. But do you think we as a Polish community can maybe influence some other minority, like the younger, let's say, minorities, can we as well just help the other minorities to develop as well the structures that we've got?
Yeah, I would like to say that Polish community is so beautifully integrated and coherent, whereas even lots of studies actually say that we are a group of people who have quite a lot different groups in it and groups of interest. But I wouldn't say like friends, but also representing on a broader scale. So definitely institutions or organization could talk. I'm happy to help and to talk to anyone who would like to maybe learn from other organizations. I'm not sure if anyone comes and asks, Rao, I would like, you had 10 years of experience now, would you like to share it? I'm happy to do it, because there's a lot to share and there's a lot to learn, especially how to start, where to start, and also what obstacles you can meet. It's not only being a leader, but also how to talk to Scottish institutions and where to find support. And that's, yeah, I think it's a quite good experience that we could share, definitely.
How do you think about the future of the Polish migration here? Because in terms of Brexit, Scottish referendum is quite difficult times now. So how do you think, in which way that all the Polish migration here in Scotland will go? Will they integrate more, or what do you think about maybe the youngest generation of our Polish migrants, from your perspective as someone who's dealing with many Poles here?
It's so difficult to say. I think, I had questions about how do you see whether people are staying or going, and I think those people who stay, they decide to stay and they will try to make their lives best here, as anyone who'd like to, who settles in a place. Children are definitely integrating, going to schools, and I'm not sure exactly how Brexit will impact Scottish society, and at the moment it's, when you compare it to what's happening in England, it's definitely more welcoming and more tolerant, and I feel that's what helps people feeling more safe here, whereas so it's difficult to say. Definitely after results of the referendum, we had a lot of our therapists for a month basically talked only about Brexit at work with their clients. Definitely first 2 weeks were only about that, what the impact it will have, whether it had to leave just now, or whether what will be the rights. And I think this level of surprise it brought and shock pretty much, then that definitely impacted on feeling of safety and of how you perceive the nation as well. So I think quite a lot of people decide on leaving. I'm not sure. It's difficult to say on number-wise how many it is. Definitely about 10% of our clients think about it. About that, yes. There are present conversations of people either considering or preparing or being at the last stage of actually being. But I also heard that it's quite a lot of people coming, on the other hand, just to try to come over before the Brexit happens. So it might be, we might see another group of people coming who have, again, new problems or old new problems, that we can actually deal with easily right now. Yeah.
In the context of mental health, do you think that in the future, let's say next 5, 10, 15 years, that the Polish community will integrate more and have less mental problems, or do you think though still some kind of level of the problems will stay the same?
I wish problems were depending only on them, then that would be easier. But I think problems also rise on being able to access services. And also mental health provision in Scotland itself. And I'm really looking forward to governmental policy and strategy for mental health, because it's the problems will exist and will happen, and it's more how we are able to deal with them. And right now, unfortunately, it's quite limited access to any kind of services before the crisis actually develops. So there are organizations that help in crisis situations, but also there are not many that we can refer the clients back and they would look after them or be able to support them in a, let's say, holistic way. So our organization works mostly voluntarily. So I'm grateful to people who to believe in Feniks the same as me, and also believe in helping people. But it's difficult to say that in 5 years people won't have depression. I would say they will have depression, and I would say they will having the same anxieties. But there are cultural differences how it is approached, and I think that should be kind of seen by the institutions and understood.
So it seems like there will be still lots of work for you to do in the future.
It's a lot of work, and it's definitely, we are the biggest community in Scotland. I mean, the ethnic minority at the moment. And we are, and Edinburgh and Lothian is the biggest concentration of it, so we probably have 1/3 of all the Scottish population, Polish Scots, and this is what we will see, and definitely problems won't just happen, won't disappear, and won't,
And the next question is a bit more personal. So how do you see yourself in about 10, 15 years in Scotland? Will you be still in Scotland?
That's a very good question. I would love to stay. However, my personal life is developing in different directions at the moment, so it's hard to say. I'm definitely, I would like to settle and have my family here, but that's we'll see.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.